I wanted to talk about homeschool today because it was a big change for us. Our kid was in school for kindergarten, and we decided to move to the US during the school year. He was getting ready for first grade, and that's the reason we homeschooled. Actually, it was an in between schools, in between Belgium and the US. So it was temporary for us. It was just for a few months for him not to be out of school. So it was for, I want to say, admin reason, and not really because we wanted him to be homeschooled. It started like that, and he was in a private school back in Belgium. There were only like 6 or 8 kids total in the school, so that was pretty cool. Forest school style, Montessori and Scandinavian education style. We loved it. He loved it, and I guess he was enrolled in a charter school in Florida, which seemed great. So it was an in-between for us, and then that whole RV lifestyle happened to us. We bought the RV and decided, well, he's already homeschooled, kinda. Let's just leave it at that. And I wasn't ready for it. I don't necessarily need to be prepared before doing something. I love to learn like hands-on and doing it and making mistakes. I love to, lucky enough for me, I love to fail and get back up. Kind of became like my thing. And I love, because I love that, because I really learn as I go, and I feel like I'm growing and evolving, and so yeah. That was not a fear for me. It was not scary. It was just so new to me that I felt like I had to have a classroom. I feel like I'm not the only one. I'm not the only mother starting homeschooling and decided to have like the classroom at home, which is what we did. It was even part of us choosing the right floor plan for me to have like, or for him to have like a big enough room that he would be able to have a classroom in his bedroom. So that was part of our criteria to pick an RV, the homeschool part. And I would set up the classroom every morning, and we would do class and learning, always very child-led. So he would pick what he wants to learn, and I would like follow him, but he would have to choose between activities that I've like set up out there. And it worked for some times, but I had a hard decision to make since he was entering first grade. He was speaking French, and yeah, so it was a hard decision. Should I like teach him to read in English, in French, both, like setting up as an activity and you can choose it's either French or English? Now he had like absolutely never spoken a word of English, so doing like math in English was not an option, doing science in English was not an option. So it was quite hard, and for him and his social life, I guess I decided to do English so that he would be able to make friends quite fast, because he's very social and he needs those interaction. It really is a need for him, and I guess for a lot of kids. So nothing special, but that's how I choose English over French in the first time, so that just he would have friends, and then we can switch back and then start learning reading, writing in French. And I guess it kind of worked, but he got very frustrated, so did I, when it was time for him to learn reading, because I would try and make him read in a language that he doesn't speak. So that doesn't make any sense. And I guess I kind of didn't feel good about it. Something wasn't working for us, so I tried different study units. We've tried online classes, which was difficult for us because it was live classes, and with our travel we would like miss a lot of classes, not because of him but just because of travel, and that's flexibility that we need to have. So basically at that point I was getting tired, and we arrived in October 2024. We arrived within our journey and our travels. We arrived in a big campground with like 150 kids playing around all day long, and that was like the moment I was like closing the door and saying, uh-oh, you have homeschool and you have class right now, and we gotta sit down and we gotta do this. And it became like, my kid doesn't want to learn, my kid doesn't want to sit down. It felt like I'm not doing better than any public school. I'm not doing it. He's not enjoying learning, which is the base for me. Was always, I want my kid to want to go to school, and it was always the case. So I was basically doing a worse job than schools were doing. So I read a lot about unschooling and how it felt like that might be something that could work. I could always step back a little and go back to homeschool. It didn't feel like this is a major decision and there's no way back. So I kind of took the time in, when was it? October. I took a few weeks, like saying, this is kind of our holidays. Let's say you're off school for 2 weeks. And he started getting back to himself, I guess. I kind of recognized him more into not only wanting to play and having social interaction, but also into learning stuff. And he would walk around the campgrounds and he would try and read the brands of the RV and the models, and it kind of actually felt like, wow, it's coming from him. I'm not pushing. I would just be the guide next to him, and he would ask like, how do you say that EA letter together? It doesn't make any sense when I'm trying to pronounce them. And that's basically all I did, was be there to answer his questions. And that was within 2 weeks where I was fighting. It went from me fighting in the classroom, like to get him to read some sounds and letters and getting like to know all the sounds in that foreign language. It went from that to him asking me questions about how to do it. And it felt like a miracle. Honestly, it felt like, okay, I think this is it. And I decided, without talking about it to him or anything, without implicating him, I decided to completely continue that way. Just don't do anything, see what comes, what works, what doesn't. And I was setting myself as an observer, silent observer, where I would just look at him, go to bed at night and say, okay, did he learn something today? And did he enjoy doing it? And will he remember this? And yes, it actually worked. And I think within 2 or 3 months, he was reading, like I would say almost perfectly at his level, with his vocabulary of a 6-7 years old living in a foreign country, in a foreign language. So I was quite impressed with it, since I didn't ask anything out of him with all that learning. But I'm always being careful not for him to step into something that he would not be interested to go outside. And we're always being careful with screens. And so yeah, it was kind of that. At that point I was thinking, okay, this is it. This is a way that works for him, for me too, because you know what, the biggest work, I think, was for me to unlearn what I had learned about teaching and how a kid should learn. I really had in mind, like at 6.5, 7, he needs to read, he needs to write. I kind of had that pressure of age, and I think a lot of us have that. So the biggest work was on myself. It was me unlearning what I had learned. That was a big, it took me some time of accepting and adapting, and it's still like that. I still kind of have to adapt and shift at any time, because he was a lot for years and years. He was into biology. Now some engineering is adding to that, so I gotta kind of follow. But now he's reading, he's writing, because he started reading like now a bit more than a year ago, and he fluently, no problem. And now he's read so much, because I didn't force anything, he's read so much that he's starting to write, and spelling is actually great, because he knows how to write that word without having like any exercise or worksheets, just because he read those words. So he asked for sometimes, and again, like I did for reading, I do exactly the same for writing. He asks, and I'm the guide, and I'll help him figure it out, with like the goal, the end goal is not for him not to be needing me. So I learn as he learns. Biology is still a big thing, and it's still studying and researching what he found. It always starts with a walk outside for us, mostly. But I keep always an open mind and an eye to restart maybe some homeschool if necessary, or if he wants to, or if he's ready for it, or if it's not a definite decision that you make when you decide to end school. It's not something like there's no manual for it, there's no instructions. This works for us for now. I'm always on my toes, which is again the difficult part, is being I'm convinced that this is the right thing for him and for me and for us now, but I'm also aware that it could change at any time, which I'm okay with it. I have to try and find, so I'm looking at pattern, and I'm looking on his happiness. I'm looking at 100 different things to make sure that I'm not missing anything and missing any sign that we should or could shift into something else. So yeah, this is our take on unschooling. This is my personal experience. It's not for everyone, I guess, like public school or like homeschooling, which is again completely okay. And also from time to time I get like little sign from him that kind of makes me feel job's done. Is for him, he's getting, because of unschooling, getting a lot, he's getting very resourceful. And to give you an example, that's this week examples, but I have a few like this. When he loves to play with those Beyblades, like the kind of thing that turns, and he didn't have one, and at some point from himself, so that didn't come from me or his father or no one, just himself thinking, okay, I don't have one, what if I could build one, and then I would have one. And he researched it, like YouTube, and looked at, always with me sitting next to him, and he actually found like how to make one. And that was the first thing that we did in the morning, like, okay, let's build what you found, show me what you need. And he was the leader in that experience. I helped him with some more tricky parts of that craft, but the whole idea, the resource, came from him, and he was the leader in that craft. And that moment where he built it and it worked, not at the first time, not at the first try, he had to tweak it a little bit and come up with ideas and be creative and be crafty. And when it worked, and it looked at me like, this is awesome, because I actually made something I can actually work on it. I can make repairs. I can make like some upgrades, and it felt like he was yours. And when I saw that and he told me that, that's a moment that it will allow me not to doubt for a few days or weeks. And sometimes some little things like this happen, and that's what I meant by saying that I'm checking in all the time and I'm on my toes. This will allow me not to be on my toes, and it will allow me to relax and be convinced of my choices. So I always look for those kind of little signs. They're big wins for me. It seems little, but it actually, for me, this is big, and it happens like on a regular basis. When it's too long between those little big win moments, it kind of get like, that's the moment when I start doubting. But yeah, here it hasn't happened in a few months right now, so all good. And well, I'll catch up later, and yeah, have a good one, and I'm happy you're listening. Thank you. Bye.